Welcome to Conscious Millionaire Podcast, show number 604. Today, my featured guest is Cody, and we're going to be discussing tax planning to keep more money. And as a special gift to you, I want to invite you to the next First Million webinar that's live with me, and I'm going to be discussing the 5 proven steps to scaling your business and achieving your first million. Sign up right now by going to consciousmillionaire.com/first million.
The tax savings that we generate for our clients helps them to achieve the wealth that they're looking to gain.
This is Conscious Millionaire, the podcast for you, the conscious entrepreneur who wants to make a positive impact by building a profitable business. Every Monday through Friday with your host, business coach, marketing expert, and best-selling author, JV Crum III. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at JV Crum to receive free training and gifts from our guests.
Hello, this is your coach, JV Crum III, and welcome to you from wherever you're listening. This is the show for business owners, coaches, consultants, and service providers who want to grow your business, make a big positive impact, and reach your first million. And a big thank you to our listeners and friends in Macon, Georgia, and Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, you're going to want to stay tuned because I have a great show for you today. My featured guest is an expert in tax planning for small businesses, and we'll be discussing how you can use tax planning to keep more of what you make in your pocket. And I love connecting with you. If you have a business, please connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's JVCRUM. That's my name, JV Crum. And a reminder that later in the show, our guest has an amazing business building gift for you, and he'll be sharing his 3 golden nuggets. Now, help me welcome our featured guest. He's a certified tax coach, certified public accountant, business owner, and former New York City police officer with 17 years of experience on the force. As a certified tax coach, he belongs to a select group of tax practitioners throughout the country and has co-authored an Amazon best-selling book, Secrets of a Tax-Free Life. My guest today is Cody. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you know, one of the things we talked about before we went to air is that I'm licensed in 2 states, Florida and Colorado, and trained as a tax attorney, although I don't practice for the public, so your information will probably be a bit more current. I actually have a tax accountant and a tax attorney who, help me with all my planning. So I know how important planning is. It's critical if you really want to maximize the wealth that you're building in your business, and you really want to keep much more of those profits than instead of giving them away. But, that's your formal introduction. How would you describe yourself in your own words, Craig?
I would describe myself, I guess I'm a family guy, okay? To me, if without family, you have nothing, okay? So I'm lucky. I've been married for about 26 years. I have 3 kids. My son is a 3rd-generation police officer. I have a daughter in law school, and I have my youngest is a senior accounting major. So
wow, so they're kind of sticking with the family trade.
They all want to give something back, okay? I think they learned that from their grandfather. But other than family, I love to travel, okay? And in the last 2 years, I've actually gotten into boating, and we have some beautiful water. I'm about 20 miles outside of Manhattan, and we have the Long Island Sound, which is a great place to go and just relax.
Yeah. Now, folks, what you don't know, because Craig said this before, he says, anytime you want to just hop up on here, just fly on in. I'll take you out on the boat, So I just want to say, I love boating. I grew up on a 4x5 mile lake. And so I skied growing up. And you would ski all around that lake, and it took exactly 28 minutes to ski around the lake. But let me tell you, after 28 minutes, your legs are kind of tired from 28 minutes of nonstop, going over the waves and hitting rough water and stuff like that.
Well, I just got into boating 2 years ago, and it's a great place to go out with my wife on a weekend and relax, or on a Wednesday during the summer, leave work early and go out on the Long Island Sound, and on a nice clear day, you could look at the Manhattan skyline and just relax and just really relax.
Well, let's dig down into tax planning. So I'm just going to start with the basics. What is tax planning? You know, a lot of people might hear of it, but they've never participated in it, so they don't actually know what tax planning is.
Tax planning really comes down to being proactive. You know, most people wait until March or April to go see an accountant or a professional. And at that point, you know, history has already been recorded. What a tax planner does is they help you make history. They look at the legal things you can do, okay, and help you plan to do those things to save more of the money that you're making.
So, and you bring that up, I think that's a really good point, because if you go in March for last year, you're done for the most part. You know, there's almost nothing that you can do. You might be able to do how you're going to handle some tax things, but if you're working with somebody, you're listening to this show, and I don't think there's an accident. I think you always show up for the shows you're supposed to be here for. How does somebody when does somebody start planning? Let's say they're planning 2017. When should they be planning 2017?
Well, they should be planning 2017 now, okay? Because if they're starting a business, there should be some planning in the type of entity they decide to start, okay? It's always better to make history than to record history.
Well, absolutely. So you want to start at the beginning of the year or right before the beginning of the year for the tax planning. So if someone's a small business owner, what are some of the things they need to be considering?
You know, number one, they need to make sure that they plan, okay? They need to set their expectations correctly. They need to realize that.
So what are those expectations they should be setting? What are those about?
Those expectations are, if they don't do anything to plan and they're making money, they're going to pay a lot of taxes. If they're making money and they set aside time and they hire a professional to plan with them, they can save significant money. Okay. So depending what their business is, it could come down to just starting with the right entity type, which can make a big difference. Okay. There's retirement accounts is kind of like, that's the simple thing. All right. We're talking about really planning. You have kids, you know, medical expense reimbursement plans, you know, HSA accounts, you know, travel. What kind of travel can you write off? Okay. How to plan when you're going to purchase things, what year you should be purchasing things, how you're going to write them off. Okay. You just need to communicate with a professional. And that's what it comes down to. If you have the right professional and you communicate with him before it's too late, okay, there's a lot of things you can do.
So what are some of the things you see that are mistakes that small business owners are making?
I would say the biggest mistake, other than failing to plan, is the wrong entity type. Okay. Depending on what their business is, depending on what type of, you know, is it a second business? Is it a second job? They have a main job and they're starting a business on the side. Okay. There's a lot of factors that going into choosing the type of entity and the way that entity is taxed.
So could you give us an example of a hypothetical business and how you might look at what type of entity they wanted?
Okay. So let's just say, you're a consultant and you're ready to start going out on your own, but you want to kind of put your toe in it. So you're going to be working full time at your old job and maybe consulting at night, or part time at your old job and consulting at night. And you decide, because everybody else is doing it, everybody else is opening up an S corporation. So you decide to open up an S corporation. And when you have an S corporation, you have to take reasonable compensation in the form of salary, okay, and pay self-employment tax, which is about 15%. Whereas if you were an LLC and you had a job and you were getting paid and you were making close to the Medicare or the Social Security limit, okay, and you had an LLC, each additional dollar would only pay, say, 2.9% Medicare tax versus 15% on an S corporation. Okay. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. Okay. And that's why you have to look at what's going on in that person's life. Okay. What are the things they're doing? Do they have real estate? You just need to communicate. Okay.
So you need to sit down and what I love about what you're saying, Craig, is that every person's situation is different. And I think this is where people get into a lot of problems is they might hear someone give just a speech and then they get ideas, but then they're not going out. And what I have found, I'm not promoting Craig. I'm promoting that you go and see a tax professional. Now, I've been using tax professionals since I was 23 years old. And then I went to law school and I got trained in tax, which made it a little bit easier because I still kept using tax professionals, but I could now read the cases as well. And we could have a good conversation. But here's what I can say about tax planning, is that for every dollar I've ever paid my tax attorney or my tax accountant, I've gotten many, many dollars in savings in taxes or abilities to create wealth that I otherwise wouldn't have had. So I've always gotten a multiple return on everything that I spend on tax advice. So for me, it's not a cost, it's an investment.
Most definitely, there's a lot of value in that, okay? And I think people like value.
Right. So you're getting a big ROI. So you've got your business going. Let's talk about some mistakes that people might make. Say they're building their business, they're at 100,000, and then the next year they might be at 300,000 or 400,000, and then they're moving up towards $1 million. What are some of the things that they might just naturally make mistakes at because they don't have the information they need or the advice they need?
I mean, one thing we see all the time is poor record keeping, okay? And that's a big thing, a great way to lose a lot of deductions. Because typically you spend a lot more than you think you spend. And when people don't take good care to record all that stuff, they lose a lot. That's one area we see. Another area is, they start off small and maybe they're using the local tax preparer. Okay.
Which is different than a tax advisor.
Most definitely. Okay. And then they've reached what I call the big leagues. Okay. They need to now deal with a real professional, and they don't until it's too late, till they find out they owe all this money. And at that point it's too late. So maybe they'll look at it the following year. Okay. But they've already given up a lot of money. And like you said, that ROI is there.
Yeah. So one of the biggest mistakes is just not seeking the information that you need. But as you're growing your business, what are some things that you need to consider? Is all of a sudden your revenue is growing. Maybe it's doubling or tripling. You're escalating, you're scaling. What are some of the things that come up the more money you make that you need to start considering?
Well, you need to think of different types of retirement plans. You need to think of how much am I actually spending? Okay. What am I taking out personally? Is my spending going up as my income is going up, and I really don't need to be spending that much money? Okay.
So that's having a kind of a budget that focuses on quality of life. But I think you're right that very much of the time someone goes, let's say they had $500,000, now they've got $1 million, and they're, let's say that the same percentage of that is profit. All of a sudden they expand their spending, and instead of expanding their investing and their savings.
Yeah. Another thing they do is they don't put in the correct structures into their business as they're growing. Okay. Maybe they need to now have a full-time bookkeeper or a full-time accountant or a full-time CFO. Okay. That's one of the things we do is we provide an outsourced CFO service to people where they have these businesses that all of a sudden they've grown. Okay. And they don't want to have to go out and hire somebody and get the space and stuff like that. So there's a lot of infrastructure that they need to make sure they do.
So a CFO is a chief financial officer, and one of the services you're providing, so I think this is an interesting point, is that someone really might need a CFO at a much higher level, but before they need their full-time CFO, they still need somebody who's a financial officer really helping them make good decisions. So it sounds like there's really one of the questions they need to ask is, am I ready to have somebody full-time, or is this something where I can find someone like yourself who does this on a part-time basis for people? So they get the same value, they're just not ready for a full-time person.
Correct. And sometimes the reason they're not ready is because they're worried about the expense and the risk. What if the next 6 months aren't as good as the last 6 months? Okay.
Right.
And nobody wants to hire somebody and have to let them go.
Exactly. So part of what you need to do as you're building your business, increasing your revenues, increasing your profits, is at each stage you need to have somebody you trust. I think that that's a trusted advisor that you're sitting down with. And how often do you think somebody needs to sit down to review things? Is this a quarterly basis? Is it semi-annually?
We meet with all our clients at least once a month, okay? And if they're at the CFO level, it's much more often than that, okay? Some of the conversations don't have to be 3 hours, okay? But communication is key, and like I said, we speak or meet with all our clients at least once a month.
Okay, so you feel like it's so integral, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of business owners, when you're starting out, you're trying to save money, but I think when you save money on tax, I think when you save money on intellectual property attorneys, that these business planning, these are areas that you need to be spending money because they're going to give you an ROI.
Correct. People look at them as expenses, okay? We look at them as an investment, and like you said, there's an ROI there.
We're here with Cody, who is a certified tax coach and certified public accounting. We've been discussing how to use tax planning to keep more of what you make in your pocket. Up next is the gift giving and the conscious questions. Are you a business owner or coach who wants to make your first million? And are you tired of feeling stuck? Or perhaps you've just reached a plateau and you want to get to your goals faster. Now, I hear that from a lot of entrepreneurs, and that's why I want to invite you to the next First Million webinar training. In a short 60 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps you need to take to reach your first million. Now, seating is limited, so claim your space now in the next First Million webinar training. Go to consciousmillionaire.com/first million to sign up now for your free seat in this transformational business training. Welcome back. We're here with our guest, Cody, who is an expert in tax planning. We've been discussing how to use tax planning to keep more of what you make in your pocket. And before we give out today's business building gift and have the conscious questions, I want to congratulate you for listening today. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the show and the Conscious Millionaire community. We're a group of business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, service providers who want to make a difference in the world and also want to achieve your first million. So I really want to thank you for listening. And if you're a loyal listener, thank you so much as well. We're here to bring you great guests like Cody. And now it's time for the gift giving. Craig, what's the gift that you have for everyone listening today?
Our gift is a free download of the 10 most expensive tax mistakes that cost you thousands.
Oh, the 10 most expensive tax mistakes that can cost you thousands. And to get a copy of that, just go to consciousmillionaireshow.com, click on the big gold image that says free gifts, and then go in and you'll see the gift image and you can get instant access to this information. And now it's time for the conscious questions. And Craig, what was one of your biggest successes? And most importantly, what did it do in terms of changing your mindset, your belief, empowering you to do greater things with your life?
My biggest successes, well, let's talk about biggest successes in business, was my first tax plan, which was a very small tax plan, and I realized the power and value it provided my client, and I was like, I need to learn more about this. So as far as business, that was my biggest success. As far as life, if we're talking about life, it was, I was lucky to meet my wife and have a great family, and God's been good.
So, and congratulations, because you've been, it sounds like you have a great marriage and you have your 3 children, all of whom are taking a high success path. In terms of your business, when you made that first tax plan, what did you say to yourself that really opened new doors? How was that something that took you to new places?
I realized that, wow, I can save people, in addition to doing their tax returns and doing their accounting, I could show them ways to really save a lot of money and, turn that money into savings and investments and sometimes, new shoes, whatever it was for somebody else, but really, put more money in their pocket because, as we know, business owners work long and hard.
No, absolutely. And we take a lot of risks. So that's one of the reasons I think tax planning is so critical, because if we're going to take all these risks, then we really should maximize the amount of money we keep from having taken these risks. And I think it's one of the things that every business owner should be doing. You've done a variety of things. You've been a city police officer. You're a tax coach. You certified public accountant. You've helped so many people. What are 3 golden nuggets you could share that would help every entrepreneur listening today become more successful?
Something I learned a long time ago, marketing is like breathing, okay? If you stop, you die. So we should always be marketing in some form, even during tax season, okay? Time blocking, okay? You hit that first 100,000 and your business is starting to go and now it's starting to grow. You need to be able to block time off to do different functions, all right? And
can you give us an example of how you do that as an accountant?
Okay. In my office, I block off every morning from 9 to 10:30, all right? And I work on my business, okay? Nobody comes into my office. Nobody knocks on the door. They know between 9 and 10:30, I'm not to be disturbed because we're working on the business.
And what are some of the things you do working on your business?
I look at blogs. I write emails to people, people that are potential clients, okay? I look at different types of marketing that we may be doing. I work on podcasts. I review my podcasts. It can be any number of things that has to do with growing my business versus working in my business.
Got it. Okay. And then what's the third golden nugget?
Providing value to your clients. If you provide value to your clients, they'll always come back.
One of the things, and you were talking about marketing, Craig, one of the things that all of us as entrepreneurs have to get really good at, we don't have an option here, is that we've got to constantly be bringing in not just any leads, but the right kinds of leads for us, the ones we're going to have the biggest impact with, and the ones that are going to want to pay us for working with us, that they're eager to get their problem solved. So what is your top marketing approach for bringing in the right leads to your practice?
Networking and client meetings. Those are 2 of the top. We've introduced podcasting a number of months ago, which has been working very well for us. But I think you need to be out there and networking with people and talking about what you do, okay, and how you can help people.
And so the networking, when I see that, and the client meetings, that's another way you generate it. And how do you use client meetings from a marketing perspective?
When we do our client meetings, and it's the year-end meeting when we're going over tax returns and stuff like that, we always point out how much money we saved them this year, okay? Because sometimes they just need to be reminded. And then when they're with their friends at their cocktail parties or wherever, and somebody's always complaining about taxes, and we'll be top of mind.
Yeah, and so you're top of mind and they can recommend you to someone. Well, in my book, Conscious Millionaire, Grow Your Business by Making a Difference, I focus on what I call the new entrepreneurial path to creating your first million by creating a big impact that's positive to your clients, that's positive to the world, and also being focused on creating big profits. How does your business specifically positively impact your customers?
The tax savings that we generate for our clients helps them to achieve the growth, the wealth that they're looking to gain.
Now, you've got your book, Secrets of a Tax-Free Life. We're going to have a link to that at the show notes at consciousmillionaireshow.com. But what is a book that you could recommend?
The Dan Kennedy No BS Direct Marketing book, which is, I think everybody should read. It's a quick, easy read.
Yep, and I actually have a copy of that on my shelf. What are some of the nuggets that you've gotten out of that book?
Just different ways to market that having a website is just not good enough. You need to capture people coming to your website. Facebook likes that doesn't put, revenue in your company. You need to be, interacting. Direct mail is not dead. A lot of those different little things.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of great, No BS Direct Marketing book has a lot of great ideas in it. One of my favorite questions is, what does conscious mean to you, Craig?
Being aware that your actions, may have significant impacts on other people's lives, And, when I was in the police department and I was a sergeant and I would always have a driver and, you'd be stopped at a light or stopped at a stop sign or maybe even at a green light and you'd see somebody passing or ready to cross the street, and it's a busy city. And I would always say, let them cross in front of you, make a friend, because you want to make friends, if you're in business, you want to make friends, That, I believe that has a positive impact on people's life.
And what is the legacy you want to leave, Craig?
Family, and that service is important. Giving back something is important.
What's the give back that's most important to you? What do you find resonates the most with you?
I just think, I kind of gave a lot back in my early career, and right now I see the fact that, two of my children are a little bit older and they're looking to give back now in their chosen profession, so knowing that I've done that is great for me, makes me feel good.
So I'm curious, we didn't touch on it before. You were a New York City police officer. How did you move from that to being a certified public accountant?
I was an economics major before I became a police officer. And as time went on, I realized I needed to prepare for a second life. And originally I wanted to go into financial planning. And I figured, let me differentiate myself. Let me become a CPA. And I liked becoming a tax angle so much that I just became a CPA and not a financial planner.
So were you still a police officer while you were getting your accounting degree, or did you stop being an officer and work entirely on getting your degree?
No, I was a police officer and I was going to school at the same time.
I did that for two of my graduate degrees. I ran a business with 50 people and went to law school full time, and I did my MBA the same way. And personally, when you look back and you go, what are the things you'd recommend people to do? I go, kids, don't try this at home, right? Because I was dumb enough to do it twice. You do not have much of a personal life when you are going to school and work. And sometimes it's necessary, but it is, my hat's off to anybody who does that, because having done it, it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is. It is, but it's well worth it, and I would not wish it on anybody else either.
Yeah, it was like, what was I thinking when I did this? So is there a cause or a nonprofit you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, it's called the Silver Shield Foundation, and they provide, they make sure that the children of firefighters and police officers killed in the line of duty have free tuition for college.
I think that is a really great cause. Because when you've lost, someone who's perhaps bringing in the most money for the family, it's still important that children have an opportunity to go to college, to get an education, to further themselves and be empowered to move out in the world and do something that they want to do with their lives. So I think that's great. We will have a link to that so you can learn more about the foundation at ConsciousMillionaireShow.com. If you'd like the show notes, just go there, and in the upper right-hand corner, says search for a podcast. Put in Craig Cody, C-O-D-Y. I want to thank you for listening today. You're the reason we do this show, and I love hearing from you about how you're taking this show and using it to build your business, using it to grow and change your life. So you can go to ConsciousMillionaireShow.com. And at the top, you'll see links to where you can leave me a written message or voicemail. Those come to me personally, and I always respond to everybody who reaches out. I look forward to connecting with you on the next Conscious Millionaire Show. And Craig, thank you so much for being our featured guest today.
Thank you very much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I want to remind you to join us tomorrow, show number 605. It'll be my Weekend Mojo, and I will be discussing your big impact vision and giving you a special action step challenge to grow your business.
Thanks for listening to Conscious Millionaire, the show for entrepreneurs and coaches who want to increase profits and make a positive impact. The host, producer, owner of the show, and broadcast medias make no claims that the strategies and information discussed on the show will result in profits and may result in losses. The opinions and advice from guests do not necessarily represent those of the owner, staff, management, or broadcasters of the show. No legal, accounting, or financial advice is made in this show. You are advised to seek counsel on matters related to your business, financial investments, or other legal matters from licensed advisors.